All right, y'all. So I've been meaning to actually bring one of my pistols to show to you guys because I've actually had this one for a little while now, and it was kind of like my introduction to direct blowback pistols because well, it's kind of an older design. So what we're gonna be talking about is this gun right here. As you can see, this is a Walther model PP chambered in 32 ACP or 7.65 Browning, as it's sometimes labeled on these things. So yeah, the Walther PP, very iconic, kind of very well recognized pistol, and definitely copied for sure by many countries. Um, so this one has just like an absolutely just long, immense history. This particular model, I believe, is from the 60s, and this was a previous police pistol because the markings, as indicated right there, probably won't show up very well, but there is a HU marking. Oh, there we go. Right there, a little marking there that's crossed out, which indicates that this used to be a police handgun and has since been retired out of service. Of course, that's why it's here. Um, a good friend of mine who is also into guns, I was kind of asking him like, hey, like what's some cool pistols, Milsert pistols out there? And he said, man, it's really hard to beat a Walther PP chambered in 32. And the reason for that is because that's the caliber that this thing was originally designed around. So if you look up even Ian McCullum at Forgotten Weapons actually has a whole video describing like the differences between a PP pistol, or the any of the lineage of the PP series of pistols. So your PPKs, your PPKSs, right? Those chambered in 380 versus 32. Even he says the 380s kind of, they're not that great to shoot. They're kind of a little painful, actually, kind of snappy. But the 32 is an absolute joy to shoot and very pleasant. So I certainly found that to be the case. I went out and purchased this for myself, and as you can see, it's actually in really nice shape. Beautiful deep bluing here. I have the original grips here as well. Just your regular like black plastic checkered grips. I replaced them with these nice wood grips because I think it looks nicer and it feels a little nicer too. But my buddy was absolutely 100% right when he said this is probably one of the nicest like direct little blowback pistols that you can get. And he was absolutely right. This is my first 32 ACP pistol that I've ever had. And later I ended up getting a CZ70 pistol as well. But I ended up moving that one because it, I don't know, it wasn't as nice as the Walther PP, of course, because it was a copy. But this little pistol, this one here has been absolutely just a fantastic piece for me. It is so much fun. I've got a whole bunch of extra magazines and stuff for it. Thankfully, Metgar actually still makes magazines for these in 32 ACP. So you can get your nice little finger rest here, or you can get the flush base plate magazines like this, which is how it was originally issued way back in the day. So, I mean, the history of this goes back to like the very late 1920s, actually, is when this was designed. And this was definitely way ahead of its time in terms of controls and like having a slide mounted decocker safety, right? And it being a double action, single action pistol, which we're so used to today. That was actually a pretty novel concept at the time. So 1930s, I believe, is when Germany adopted this as one of their main pistols for pretty much everything, and pretty much remained in service all the way up until the Olympic Munich massacre, where they decided to get something a little bit more powerful. So that's when you start seeing things like the other P series of pistols that I've talked about on my channel before, like your P5, your P6, and P7. Those were basically meant to replace these in like police service and general use, even though German military definitely had your Luger pistols, your P38s, your P1s, right? This was definitely still serving alongside those in various other capacities. As far as a modern pistol goes, though, this thing is actually really small. Honestly, it really is. It's a little heavy because obviously it's all steel construction, direct blowback, so it has a pretty stout recoil spring and everything else. It's definitely outdated, and when I have my 365 XL sitting over there on the table, which has like a billion rounds of 9mm versus 7 or 8 rounds of 32 in this heavy thing. But you honestly, you really are hard pressed to beat like just the classiness, the aesthetic value of a really nice looking Walther PP pistol like this. You know, it just looks classic. It looks good. And of course, you have the James Bond, you know, lineage that goes with this as well. I find it ironic that a British, you know, spy is using a German gun, but you know, whatever. It fits the bill and it definitely looks the part. So really really nice gun, honestly. I forgot how much I paid for this thing, but honestly, it doesn't matter. I have been enjoying this thing for a whole lot, and I think I'm nearing like about 1,000 rounds personally myself put through this gun, and it hasn't hasn't skipped a beat or anything. It's been totally 100% reliable, quite accurate too. I was able to get the right around like 2.5, 3 inches at 25 yards groups with this pistol, which is pretty impressive considering like basically the fixed sights. So I mean, you can adjust the rear sight as far as windage back and forth, but that front sight is definitely fixed in there. But these sights are absolutely minimal. I mean, you can just look. It's just your really super basic rear notch right there, super basic, super basic. But the triggers in these are actually pretty darn nice. So go ahead and so you got your, of course, your single action, double action, with the interesting thing where if you decock it like this, the trigger tends to stay back, but when you put it back on fire, it pops back to the default position. So, and then you have your nice, not too heavy, double action pull. It's just, everything about this thing is just smooth and refined and really excellent and an absolute joy. I think as far as like shooting experiences go, these things are pretty underrated and definitely I think more fun to shoot than like your Makarovs, right? So Makarovs take a lot of inspiration from the PP design, but they are definitely meant more for like hard, rugged military use and simplifying the design quite a bit, because there's a lot of trigger work mechanism inside of this that I don't personally feel like taking apart anytime soon. But a Makarov, of course, is a lot simpler. And of course, it shoots 9mm Makarov, which is, I would say a bit more of a powerful round than 32 ACP for sure. 32 out of this is an absolute pussycat. It is just so much fun to shoot. It gives you just enough recoil so that you can kind of feel it in your hand, but it's not like beating your hand up like a 380 does. I have shot, I think, 3 PPKs, so one PPK, actual PPK, and then 2 other PPK-S's that have the longer grip here, all in 380, and every single one of those was just like, ow. Kind of hurts my hand a little bit. They still performed well, and they were still good guns. You know, nothing wrong with them. It's just the shooting experience for them. It's not a kind of gun that you're going to take and shoot 100, 200 rounds at the range in one sitting, and you're going to sit there feeling like, yeah, that was pleasant. This one, however, in 32, with depending on the manufacturer of load and everything, you could absolutely go 200, 300, 400 rounds at a range day with just this gun, and it'd be totally fine. So very pleasant to shoot. So alongside that, though, there's a lot of accessories and things that go with the Walther PP, because it's been around forever, and a lot of the PPKS like grips and things also fit on the PP, and vice versa. So the aftermarket for these is actually pretty well developed for as long as it's been out. I was lucky enough to actually find an original manual here, from way back when, and of course it's all written in German and has the nice diagrams and everything. I mean, this is really high quality manual, definitely for its day. To give you all the internal things and like how to load it and everything. And you just like, even today, you don't even see manuals like at this level of technical detail for things. Classically German, right? You just gotta have all the details, right? So I really wish I could, read German. I can't, unfortunately. But this is just, I love having like original articles like this that go with something like this, because then I put it all together and it makes it like a more complete package. So I have a reproduction as well, from, I'm guessing, an original manual from way back in the day, probably like World War II era. Guessing based on just the style of how this is printed, the shooting method that he is demonstrating there in the picture. Definitely old school. But they went through some lengths to kind of give the paper a little bit of age, artificial aging there, and it absolutely looks the part. And it has just like a ton of writing all in German and everything about, I'm sure, how to operate this pistol, maintenance cycles and all that stuff. But yeah, it's just, I mean, I think that's just pretty cool, and it's really, really high quality printing, and it just takes all the little parts there. It just shows you exactly what this gun's made of. Very, very cool. I love having stuff like that. So yeah, the shooting experience definitely is good. The triggers are good. The ergonomics, to me, I mean, even though I'm like 6 foot even, I get a solid grip on this thing, and it fits great in my hand. I don't have any ergonomic problems with it at all. Even though the magazine release is, of course, right up here, I've never had an issue with that. And even though it's in kind of a weird place, because you kind of expect it to be more like down here on the trigger guard and like in a traditional method. But it was also unusual for European pistols because it does not have a heel magazine release. So if you look at something like the P38s, right, they've got heel magazine releases. So it's a little bit unusual in that sense, but I certainly don't mind. But yeah, this thing is just really, really pleasant, really, really good. So the accuracy is there. The reliability is there. I cannot remember a single time this thing has ever jammed. Even with the original magazine, that's like old and beat up and a little bit rusty on the inside maybe. All the magazines I've ever owned for this gun have worked perfectly fine. I have no complaints. This thing just runs like a freaking champ. It's awesome, like as if it was made yesterday. So I think the date code here is 1964. So this thing has seen some years for sure. Seen some police service, and I really do like the fact that this used to be a former police gun too, because it fits with the rest of my German pistols, which all, of course, are also police surplus issue. So it definitely fits in line with that lineage and kind of gives you like the, I guess, like the historical kind of development as it went along, to kind of illustrate how we went from something like this, an antiquated design, to more modern 9mm single stack pistols, and moved on even from there. Where we have things like the P10 pistol or the P8s. The USP 9s basically is what they are, or the P10s were the Glocks now. But yeah, humble beginnings from pistols like this, and of course it's just, there's so much history with these guns. I mean, if you really, really want to get like super crazy collector about these things, there are endless numbers of books to really describe all the very, very like fine minutiae about each individual kind of like little Walther PP pistol that was made, and the PPKs, for obviously the Nazi Germany times, the party leader PPKs, the ones that are fake, the ones that are real. And just all that stuff. There are so many variations of this pistol. It's frankly a little bewildering to kind of try to take all that information in, because I mean, they've made these in 380, 32, 22 long rifle. I mean, I've got a modern production PPKS in 22 right now, which I will absolutely do a video on here in a little bit, because that thing is so much fun to shoot with a suppressor on too. This series of pistol really does have a massive influence on, really a lot of pistol designs that came after it. A lot of countries copied it. Your CZ70s, CZ50s, or BZ50s, if you want to call them that, BZ70s. Your Makarovs, of course. A lot of guns took inspiration from this, and it was really ahead of its time. And having shot it and owned it and everything else, it's really easy to see why. It's just an excellent design. When you can have both form and function and aesthetics and all that stuff put together, you get something like this, right? So, some people might say that 32 is a pretty diminutive round for today, and you probably shouldn't carry one. but I have on occasion actually carried this pistol in 32, with Hornady hollow points, and they all feed perfectly fine in this. And I mean, yeah, 32 isn't the most powerful round in the world, but there is a reason why this pistol was used for as long as it was, like what, 4 or 5 decades, 6 decades even. There's a reason for that, and it's probably because it worked, right? So putting bullets in somebody is still putting bullets in somebody. You put a 32 in somebody's dome, and they're probably going down. So yeah, so not of course I have more practical modern options to carry for a defensive piece, and I don't really carry this one anymore. But when I was going out for a James Bond themed shoot where we're all wearing suits and everything, which I also have up on my channel, I was using this gun, so and it worked quite well. It is surprisingly accurate for what it is, because the fixed barrel design and everything, you can get really darn accurate with these things if you know what you're doing. So yeah, I really honestly can't sing enough good praises about the Walther PP series of pistols. They're just awesome. I have loved all of them that I've shot in 32. 380 ones, of course, are a little bit unloved, but there's reason for that. And I highly recommend you check out, like I said, Ian's from Forgotten Weapons, his video describing the differences, of course, between the 32 and the 380 pistols. So yeah, and the other part too is if you're looking for one of these, actually a full-size PP like this in 32 in pretty decent shape is actually not that much money. If you're looking for a PPK in 32 though, that's probably going to be a little bit more. And then also the 22LR models tend to be a little more expensive too. But a plain Jane full-size 32 like this, it's actually not that expensive. So a very, very pleasant milsurp pistol shooting experience in 32 as it was designed and intended to be. So once you kind of get all those things together, all those factors together, and you really start to appreciate just like how nice these things are and how they were designed to be shot and operated and everything else. Really, it's a kind of like a engineering kind of I'm not gonna say marvel, but like when you just design something so well and it all comes together and it just works really, really good. This is definitely an excellent example of that. So highly, highly recommend. So yeah, I've had a lot of fun with these, and I really can't say enough good things about them. So, but yeah, the history of these is far longer than I can explain in this video, but I highly encourage you to look those up and really see just how all over the place these things have been. And the whole, like the Manurian PPs, for instance, too, like that whole story, working with the French and everything else. Oh, there's a lot of history there, but these are fantastic pistols. I'm really happy to be able to own, a nice piece of history like this. And of course, being a police surplus, it matches the rest of my German police guns. So super, super cool. Love it. But anyway, I just thought I would share this with you guys and give you one last look here. I mean, just look at that bluing. Oh, man. Fantastic. Gorgeous. They definitely don't make them like this anymore, I can tell you that. Though I sorely wish they did. I really wish Walther USA would bring back any kind of PP, like the full-size PP like this, the PPK, the PPKS and 32. I really, really, really wish they would bring it back because, I would love to have more of these in a modern version. So I wouldn't feel so bad about shooting an old historical piece like this. I mean, Beretta has demonstrated that they can chamber their, I think the Tomcats in 32, right? And that's a pretty old pistol design, right? So if Beretta can do it, why can't Walther, right? I really, really want Walther to make these current production in 32. So hopefully they are listening and taking some customer feedback, because I know there's a lot of people out there that really, really want these modern production in 32. So anyway, figured I've talked enough about that, but yeah, just figured I'd share that with you guys, and I really hope that you get the experience to be able to shoot one of these in 32 as it was intended and as it was designed originally, not in 380, right? But yeah, it's just awesome gun. Highly recommend. But anyway, that's all I got to say about that, and we'll see you next time.